Hello, everyone. Nice of you to join. Today's presentation, this session is 6AX, and it will be presented by Daniel. I will hand over to him in a moment. Just to remind you all that if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. And don't forget to do the feedback at the end of the session. So without any further ado, over to Daniel.
Okay, so I guess we are on time, so let's get started. So hello everyone, welcome to my today's session. I will just briefly introduce myself. So my name is Daniel Remta and I am the CA Workload Automation ESP product owner located with ESP teams in Prague, Czech Republic. And I have been with Broadcom for 1.5 years and came from a distributed part of the galaxy, I would say. So to my surprise, a lot of is actually happening in the world of mainframe, and I'm really happy that I can be part of it. So prior my current allocation, I worked as the product owner in a fintech company that focused on online lending. And before that, I spent a couple of years at the Czech Academy of Science working with the development teams to deliver value through managerial information systems. And today, I will be talking about how we are using ESP REST APIs to simplify workload automation. I would say the presentation will be kind of lightweight and will provide you with some examples of what we have actually built using our REST APIs. So what is on the agenda? I will open the session and really briefly introduce ESP as a product to just set some proper context level and explain some of the vocabulary which I will be using throughout the presentation. Then I will talk about the ESP REST API, some of the asks we were hearing or we are hearing from our customers, and also tell you a little about its history. But again, don't worry, there won't be like some overload of some history information. And then we will review what is currently available on our REST API. And then I will briefly introduce you to Intelligent Experience web user interface, which is actually built above and using the available ESP REST API. This will be followed by some detailed walkthrough the application, the Intelligent Experience, and I'd say demonstration of how you can get familiar with our REST APIs using our available documentation. But this will be like live part or semi-live. It will be in the video, but we will be like looking of how you can use Intelligent Experience and how you can get familiar and try out our REST APIs. And of course, then in the end of the presentation, there will be time for your questions and answers. So looking forward to that. Okay, so let's start with the introduction. So ESP, let me introduce you the ESP. And in full words, it's a CA Workload Automation ESP Edition. And even in fuller words, it's actually Computer Associates Workload Automation Enterprise System Platforms Editions, which is, I'd say, a pretty neat name, right? But in one word, we can characterize ESP as a scheduler. So surprisingly, what it does, it schedules the workload. But ESP can be used to manage workload between multiple platforms, mainframe and distributed environments, different operating systems, and various geographical locations. And that all from a single interface. The event-driven automation enables for responses to real-life business events, having the complex work streams automated using scripts and symbolic substitutions. Of course, all of this and many more with uncompromised compliance. But I would say we don't need to praise here our precious ESP. And what will be really important for this presentation is just some words and vocabulary I will be using. So I just listed it here. So first, job. We can understand job as a very basic unit of work. So think some shell script, batch script, task, etc. Then we have the application, which is actually a set of jobs and the dependencies described in, I'll say, ESP language. Then we have something called generation, which is an identifier of an application. So we use it to uniquely identify each instance of application, and we use the combination of the application name and the number of generation as the unique identifier. For every newly created instance of an application, we increase the generation number by 1 in ESP. And the last thing, which I will also mention, is an event. So event invokes the creation of an application, and it actually defines when something is supposed to happen. So in example, appearing of a file on a server will invoke creation of an application. So that would be about the brief introduction to ESP and the vocabulary. So moving to the section dedicated to the REST API. So why the REST API and what we are actually hearing from our customers? What are the asks? So I would say the evergreen is that the new generation of the developers are used to use modern tools and common integration APIs, and they don't want to learn some archaic languages and traditional mainframe interfaces. Then we have also like many asks coming from the application teams who need to have easy to understand interfaces to be used when building their integrations with in-house applications. They also need them to retrieve information about the job streams, generate custom reports, and allow to do some control actions from outside of the mainframe. And also the very common topic would be some integration into various DevOps processes. What is also really important is some predictability, sustainability, and reliable documentation, which eases the integration and the actual use of the APIs. And then last but not least, also the operators and even other business users want to have some easy, lightweight, intuitive way to monitor and manage workloads. And like definitely the green screens will not be the case. So the REST API is definitely not the answer to all of these asks which are listed here, but it can lay a solid foundation which can be then further leveraged. And this is where like ESP team took it and tried to address these needs and build this foundation I mentioned. So how we have actually started. So first, there were some HTTP POST services introduced to the product, and they are even still available. But I would say there is a couple of buts. Yeah. So they are written in assembler, so they are not very easy to maintain, and they provide just one single endpoint command without any limitation on the input. It actually means that you can send anything in the request and hope it will be like processed well. To learn how to build the content of the request, you need to have some understanding of how the commands are structured in ESP and be familiar with the ESP technical documentation, which for some developers or some guys might actually be an issue and bring some unnecessary complexity. The response you will actually receive from this web services, which we also call legacy REST, the response looks like standard JSON, which is JavaScript object notation. but in fact, it's not. It's just free text wrapped in JSON. And it means that if you want to work or like make your machines work with this output, the content needs to be manually parsed. And by manually, I mean that the parsing have to be precisely configured. And again, it's hard to maintain. Yeah. So this was definitely not the right way. Although we still have some customers who are like working with these web services and their integrations are successful. But again, why to overcomplicate the things? So what has then actually followed? To remove the weaknesses of the previous approach, we have introduced the RESTful API. And here I just listed some of its benefits. It is written in Java, so it's easier to maintain on our side as for the development team. And it's also like zip eligible, so it can also be beneficial on the customer side. It provides multiple endpoints with easy to follow documentation describing the expected requests and also the possible responses that are provided in industry standard JSON format. So really some easy to read machine readable format. And also as one of the added benefits, I can list the embedment of RSQL, which allows you to parameterize filtering of entries in RESTful APIs. And it will be actually shown in one of the examples. And last but not least, we have the inbuilt Swagger documentation on our REST solution. But again, I will talk a bit more about it later. What I want to show you on this slide is the picture of the high-level architecture of the solution, where I would really like to highlight just two things. The first one is that to access the data, we are working with common mainframe security. It means that for the authorization, you will, or the users will be using their mainframe credentials. So you don't need to keep the security profile in other place than your standard solution. And the second thing is that we mirror the monitor data in data cache on our side, which means that the request can be satisfied without asking mainframe each time any request is made. Okay. So here I just put some simple example of the get method which we are using. And in this example, we query the application named SCHD. What a lovely, lovely name of application I have chosen for this presentation, but never mind. So below is visible the response for this request. As you can see, it's in the industry standard JSON, so really easy, pretty well structured and easy to read and to understand. And here you can see the second example, which is the example of post. And here we are trying to complete the generation 18 of application named AllWop. So in the upper part, you can see the actual payload, and below it is the response. Again, here you can see that the structure of the payload and the response is again clear and easy to read, easy to parse. And what I mentioned previously is that our solution contains inbuilt Swagger documentation, and it's one of the benefits of the solution. So as soon as you will have the REST server running, you will have also this online documentation available. And it's online live documentation, I would say. And why live? This because it allows you to interact with the APIs through it in the real time. So not only you can learn about how the requests and the responses will be structured and what is expected in your payloads, but you can also try it in the real time and see what will be the reaction for your requests and what you will actually receive in the responses. This would be very beneficial when you are trying to explore and try out the APIs before you actually start using them or develop your, let's say, in-house built applications. I've also put here some simple Swagger example. And here is just a brief example how the monitoring endpoint for applications is described in Swagger and how you can actually try it out. So when you want to try it out, you just click on try it out and it will allow you to add the parameters which can be used in the request. And then you can like execute the request and you will receive some response. Here I just again put some, I would say, generic example of the response which will be described or which is described in the Swagger documentation. And again, here you can see like what are the expected HTTP codes you can receive, what is their meaning, and in case the response is specific and contains some, I would say, data or some values, how they will be structured and what you can expect there. So again, at the first glance, you can have a pretty good idea how the response will be structured and what are the data types which you will receive. As another example, I put one for the command for the application complete. Again, the similar applies here, that you can find the example of the expected payload, which is like prepared by us. And when you want to try it out, it will actually allow you to edit this example. So you can just replace it with your own values and then execute, and you will be getting the response. Again, even for the response, we have prepared the documentation. So there you can again learn like what are the possible responses you might be getting with the structure, and that's basically that would be it. Okay. And so what is currently available on our REST APIs? Our REST APIs, I would say, are a living thing, and the development haven't ended. I would say we are somewhere not very close to the start, but still in the beginning of the long-term project, our REST APIs will be. So currently we have 5 endpoints for monitoring available and 6 commands for applications, which are listed here. For the jobs, we have 15 commands currently available on our REST APIs. And again, those are just listed here. I won't be going into much detail here, just wanted to provide some generic overview. And what we plan to add next. So as I mentioned, the development of our APIs is an ongoing effort. So here I will give you a few examples of what we are going to focus next in our journey. So we plan to add endpoints for some event management to actually allow to get the event definitions and do some basic control actions like trigger, hold, or release the events. We want to enhance the data you can receive about the specific jobs, including the jobs spool data and some richful set of job details. We want to enable for extraction, modification, and reloading of the application definitions into ESP. And we also want to introduce endpoints to retrieve data about workload automation agents to ease their management. So this is only a few of the examples of on what we are looking at next in our roadmap, but those are like the features you can be expecting the soonest. Okay, so this was briefly about the REST API, and there will be also some short demo later. But now I would also like to show you an example what is actually possible to build using our REST APIs in behind. So we have introduced our web UI for ESP, which is called Intelligent Experience. It is our, let's say, latest web UI. We had some attempts previously, but none of the previously released web UIs is supported anymore. So Intelligent Experience was firstly released in 2019 and then was, let's say, significantly updated in 2020, and more is yet to come. Intelligent Experience is written in Angular, and it's following the recent trends in building of the web applications. And as the source of the data, and of course also the interface for communication with mainframe, like issuing the commands, it uses the ESP REST APIs. Our aim was to introduce some easy to use web UI to enable different kind of users to monitor and interact with ESP in the real time. And to do so, we had, and we still have, our user experience teams heavily involved. So many usability studies have been conducted, others are in progress, and others are planned. As I mentioned, for the rest, that it's a long-term project. The same applies also for Intelligent Experience. So it will be subject to incremental development and continuous delivery of new features, which we are expecting to be releasing throughout at least few upcoming years. So here I have just listed some of the main features which are available in Intelligent Experience. Again, I don't want to be explaining them now in detail because following this slide, we will actually jump into some demonstration and some presentation and walk through the application of Intelligent Experience. So it doesn't make sense to like provide some rich full descriptions right now. But what I would like to show you here again is some high-level architecture diagram where you can see that the web UI is running on some server. It can be either on distributed platforms, but also, for example, Unix system services might be used to run it. And then user connects to the web UI server through his browser, where he also uses and manipulates the application. And when login into the web UI, he needs to select the REST API server he wants to connect with. Currently, there is one limitation that only one connection to selected server at a time is supported. So you cannot have some consolidated view within or among multiple REST servers in one place. Yeah. So if you want to change the REST server, you first need to log out from the first one and log in to another one. And this is the last thing which I wanted to mention on this picture, that actually, as you can see, that for each ESP instance, you need to have one REST API server running on the same LPAR. Okay, so let's move to the Intelligent Experience demo, which will be, let's say, the application walkthrough. So let me just play the recording if I will find the right button. To log in to ESP Intelligent Experience, I will use my mainframe credentials. Of course, in this case, test ones. And select the server I will be logging to. And log in. The first screen in Intelligent Experience is the dashboard, which contains of two parts: an overview, your work. Okay, I'm sorry, a little difficulty. Status in ESP and the watch list. So first, let's take a look at the tiles. There are two tiles dedicated to the applications, and on the first of them, you can see the categories your applications are currently in. The categories are a new concept introduced in Intelligent Experience, and they actually group together multiple states of the applications. So, in example, in the category in trouble, you will find all the applications which are currently in the state trouble or overview. If you want to learn which states are in which category, just hover above the category and you will find the information in the tooltip. By clicking on the category, you will be redirected to the application list where you will find all the applications which are currently in trouble, but I will get to it a bit later. On the second tile, you can learn about the application's SLAs. So here will be listed here will be the information about the number of the applications which are predicted to be late with an overdue submission, overdue start, and overdue end. Again, by clicking on the link, you will be redirected to the application list where all of the applications which are meeting this criteria will be listed. Another two tiles are dedicated to the jobs. So similarly to the applications, you will find here the information about the number of jobs which are in different categories. Similar to the applications also apply here, that the categories are grouping together multiple states of the jobs. Again, by simple hovering above the category, I can learn which states belong to this category. Here, for example, the DB error, failed, etc. goes into category in trouble. Again, if I will click here on the link, I will be redirected to the list of the jobs which are meeting this criteria, which means that they are in the category in trouble. On the last tile, I can learn about the jobs which are predicted to be late and how many of them is defined as critical, if any of them have SLAs defined. Similarly, for the overdue submission, overdue start, and overdue end. In the bottom part, we have a watch list. You can use watch list to add any application of your interest to be visible on the dashboard on your arrival to the system. So let's say that I'm interested in the application Fitwit. I can either add an application without specific generation. If I will do that, then always the latest generation of the application will be visible. If I would be interested in specific generation, I can just use this toggle and select the specific generation of the application and add it to the watch list. If I will then click on the application which I added to the watch list, I will be redirected to the application detail. We will get to the application detail a bit later. Of course, as I can add to the watch list, I can be also removing from the watch list. So for that, I use this editing watch list, removing the application I'm not interested in anymore, and finish with the editing. So let's take a look now at the application list. In the application list, you can find all of the applications which are currently in the ESP scoreboard. Here, you can use the predefined filters on the top, which are representing the existing categories, or you can search through the list using the quick search feature. And if you want to use some more specific filtering criteria, you can use the advanced filtering. Okay, so in this case, I've already pre-filled the application name for the quick search, but I'm looking for the application with name feed using the wildcard in the form of asterisk, and then I will select just the category in trouble and apply. Now I have filtered only the applications with name starting with feed and in category in trouble. So I would like to save this filter for the further use. So I can do it here, and it is the test filter. So now I have saved the filter for the further use. So next time when I will arrive, I can just simply use my predefined filter. Of course, the filter can be later adjusted. So I can also add, for example, more categories here. Example complete, save and apply, by which I have just updated the filter. Or in case I don't want to use the filter anymore, I can delete it. What is also possible to do in the application list is issue some commands towards the application. So let me search again for my favorite application, FeedWith, and issue some command towards the application. So here are the commands which are available. So here, and let's just say that I have decided to force complete the application. So I will do it. This dialog will open. I'll put there is a test. Complete the application. So it was the application 76 in generation 76, and you can see that the application was completed. The last functionality which is available here right now, one of the last functionalities, is actually possibility to customize the view to better fit your needs. So I can do it by clicking on this button and then simply reordering the columns using the drag and drop. I can also disable those columns, or if I would like to go back to the defaults, I can always reset it. Similarly to the application list, we have job list available, where you can find all of the jobs which are currently in ESP scoreboard. Again, you can use the predefined filters to more easily navigate through the jobs, or the quick search field. And in cases where you want to be more specific about your search, you can use the advanced filtering. So let's say that I will be interested only in the jobs which are inside the application starting with feed, and only the jobs which are in category in trouble. Again, even here, I can be saving my filter. Also, similarly to the application list, we also have a bunch of commands available here. Those are these commands which are either listed here or under the button Other Actions. The last piece which I would like to show you today, it's the application detail. So you can get to the application detail either from the job list, similarly from the application list, or from the dashboard, if you of course have some application added to the watch list. There are two parts. First part is dedicated to the application itself. So again, even from here you can find some details about the application and do some control actions. And in the bottom part, this is the content of the application. So here you can find the list of the jobs which are inside the application and information about them. So from here I can learn that the job 2 in the application feed with 1 generation 79 is actually in trouble with the state fail. So I can either issue some control commands directly from here, or I can first go to the flow view, which to check where the job stands in the application and to better understand the dependencies between the jobs. The job flow provides a graphical representation of the job flow, highlighting the critical path in blue on the lines. You can learn a bit more about the job by simply putting the job in focus. And if it's not visible from the picture, you can, for example, check for the predecessors and successors here. Okay. Even here we have the possibility to use the quick search. So let's say we'll be searching for job starting with job 2, then it will be highlighted in the graph. Or again, you can use some more advanced filtering criteria. To better navigate in the bigger pictures, there is a possibility to enable a show overview map, and then you can easily navigate throughout the picture. Okay, so now I can see that the job 2 is in trouble. I can see its dependencies, and I decide to take some action to actually make or help the application to the completion. So my action will be force completing of the job. So I can do it directly from here. I will put there the optional reason test and complete the job. So you can see that the job was completed and the other job started running. Now jobs are being updated in the real time. Okay. This was some basic overview about what is currently available in our intelligent experience. Okay, so I think after this one, we can jump straight to the next demonstration, which will be a short example of how you can actually explore and try out the REST API. For the demonstration, the Swagger UI will be used and the REST submit command will be presented. For the second part of the demonstration, I chose to use the Swagger UI to demonstrate how you can actually try out the available REST APIs. So this is how the Swagger UI looks like. As you can see, you can find here the information about available commands for applications, available commands for jobs, and available endpoints for monitoring. You can actually try those out directly in the Swagger UI. So for example, I will use this endpoint to retrieve the list of an applications. So I will try it out. Don't fill any additional criteria and just execute. And you will see that I'm getting response 200, and in the response body, here is the list of the applications which are currently in the scoreboard in ESP with some of its details. For the purpose of this demonstration, I would like to show you the use of the command resubmit with the parameters for resubmission for, or more like restart from selected step. So I have this job prepared, and as you can see, the job has 4 steps inside, and it actually failed on the step 2 with the return code 4. So I have this job in failed status now. So what I will do first is that I will just search for this job to get some more of the information needed. So I am looking for the job which is in the application resub, and its category is in trouble. I will execute, and you can see that in the response I am receiving is there is one job like this, and it's in the generation for 45, and the job failed. Okay, so now I would like to resubmit the job from step 3 actually. So I will go to resubmit, and I will try it out. I have already prepared the information for or the data for the smoothness of this demo. So I will just change the generation number, and here you can see that I will be resubmitting the job which is in the application resub is generation 45. The job name is resub, and I want to restart from step JS02. Okay, so I will execute. Again, I'm getting code 200 and the job resubmission requested. So let's go back to the sysview. Let's just refresh the view so you can see the new the job was restarted. And let's just check the details. And here, as you can see, my restart was successful, and I have restarted from step number 2, and step number 1 was actually not executed. There is, of course, a lot of other commands which you can try out, and I strongly recommend it. Of course, the Swagger UI is not meant to be used by the end users to actually manipulate the commands, but it's meant mostly for the developers, so they can first try out and get familiar with the REST APIs and the responses before they start the actual implementation of their own applications or creating the integrations in between the applications in your shop. Okay, so this was about this 2 short demonstrations, and by that we have actually reached the end of the session. I hope you found some valuable content in the presentation and some interesting information. And now please feel free to ask any questions.
Okay, so I've allowed you all to unmute yourselves. Just to remind you to put some feedback for the session, both for Daniel's information, but also for the GSE, so that we can plan next year's sessions. And if there are any questions, you may speak now if you unmute yourself. Yep, thanks for the reminder as well. Please feel free to put a small donation as you've been able to come fee-free to all this wonderful information for the National Health Service charities, which we are supporting this year. You know, just a small donation goes a very long way. Okay, so if there are no questions, I will end this session.
Okay. Thanks all for joining.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you, Daniel, for presenting, and thank you to everyone else for attending. Thank you. Bye.